You want to steal my lunch? Eat my period, by user below. This is the classic story about that asshole who steals food from the work refrigerator. It was about 10 years ago. At least twice a week, my homemade lunch would disappear from the fridge. The thief had the decency not to take the box, which I found empty or almost empty every time. I was new and quickly discovered by talking to my colleagues that it was the work of a misogynistic jerk with whom I obviously didn't get along. He wasn't new to this, but the management never did anything. Fine. I'm a petty person and I have time to spare. I started bringing decoy lunches that I put in the fridge, and I would eat a sandwich that didn't need to be refrigerated. After 2 weeks, I started talking to everyone, including him, about this new wellness method I had discovered and was following to the letter, collecting my menstrual blood to eat it. I even showed a video on my phone where I was preparing the meal and emptying my menstrual cup into it. I am well aware of the severe risks associated with getting into contact with someone else's blood, so rest assured that it was not true. I just wanted to get him to believe it. It is possible, however, that he ate my feet's dead skin. Anyway, he took a week off after that and our shared fridge became a safe place to store OU food. Neighbor let his dog poop on my lawn daily, so I launched a neighborhood smear campaign. Literally and figuratively, by user vcudia job hardutchut. This happened a couple years ago when I bought my first house in a chill little neighborhood. Everything was great except for one thing, my back neighbor, Rick. Rick's the kind of guy who owns 2 grills but no shirt, drinks Coors Light in the driveway at 10 a.m., and thinks property lines are just a suggestion. Rick also had this massive golden retriever named Duke. Duke was cool, friendly, but had a very specific habit: he loved to drop the nastiest logs right in the middle of my lawn. Not near the sidewalk. Not behind a tree. Dead center, like it was his sacred spot. Every damn day. First couple of times, I figured maybe Rick didn't realize it. So I walked over, super polite, and asked if he could maybe keep Duke on a leash or at least scoop the poop when it happened. Rick, wearing a tank top that said Weekend Warrior, looks me dead in the eye and goes, "It's all nature, bro. You don't own the earth." Oh. We're doing that. So I tried the normal stuff, patched the fence, put in a motion-activated sprinkler, even tried some citrus deterrent. Nothing worked. Rick actually laughed when he saw the sprinkler and said, "Nice try, but Duke's built different." Cool. I'm built different too. Here's where the revenge starts. I started collecting Duke's turds in a Home Depot bucket. Lined it with a trash bag, used a scoop, added a little water for aesthetic reasons. After about 2 weeks, I had something that looked like a cursed soup. One Saturday morning, while Rick was out, I took that bucket and painted the border of his yard. Sprinkled it like fairy dust right along his deck and around his precious fire pit area. He came out later that day, sniffed the air, and literally went, "What the hell is that smell?" I was sitting on my porch drinking coffee like, "Smells like nature, brother." But wait, it gets better. We have a neighborhood Facebook group. I started posting lost dog poop updates every time Duke hit my yard. Found, steaming hot dog present near my mailbox. If this belongs to you, please collect your property before it fossilizes. Thanks. Then I started putting up tiny little "Do not poop here" signs made out of popsicle sticks and toothpicks, complete with glitter and googly eyes, all over the lawn. I made them in weird passive-aggressive haiku form. "Dear Duke the Pooper. This is not your golden throne. My grass feels betrayed." Rick was not amused. He actually stormed over one day and yelled, "Are you trying to make me look bad?" I just blinked and said, "Buddy, I don't need to try." After all that, the neighborhood fully turned on him. A couple other people came forward and said Duke had been leaving surprises in their yards too. Rick ended up having to build an actual fenced-in dog run and started walking Duke on a leash like a normal human. And me? I still make those little haiku signs for fun. TLDR, neighbor let his dog use my lawn as a toilet. I turned it into a public shaming campaign with poop-themed art and passive-aggressive poetry. He now walks his dog like a responsible adult. Victory smells like fresh-cut grass and not dog crap. Edit, some offended Ricks are shitting the comments. Edit 2, someone slid in my DMs requesting pics, "Do you like dog shit?" I poured a drink on a girl's head, by user 2ND Souls. 2am, was at a music festival that I had been looking forward to for months with 2 friends. There is no assigned seating at the outdoor venue and there are a few hundred people. While the opener was on, I went to get 3 drinks for me and my friends. A beer can in one hand and 2 open plastic cups in the other. On my way back to try and find my friends, the main artist was starting. The cheering and music was amazing. The energy was exactly what I had been looking forward to, and the crowd was all trying to get closer to the stage. I was bumped and spilled a bit on myself and another girl. She was not happy and tried to say something to me, but I couldn't hear her. I apologized the best I could, knowing she likely couldn't hear me, and tried to continue through the crowd. When I turned away, she grabbed my hand and wrestled 2 of the drinks from me, only to throw them on the floor, spilling more on both of us and everyone around us. I couldn't believe what was happening and looked back at her, trying to understand why. When I saw her and the grin on her face, I knew why. So I took my 3rd drink, the full beer can, and poured it on her head. I then immediately turned around to head back to the bar and get more drinks. I heard people yelling behind me, asking WTF was that? But realized as I went to defend myself what I had really just done and how nobody around us would have saw the first part of the interaction. So I kept walking and didn't look back. Okay, I'll F off, by user deepfeed 4479. 10 plus years ago I did a 3-week road trip across the US, I'm originally from the UK. We met lots of amazing friendly people, however this story isn't about one of them. It was around midnight and we were deciding which bar to go to when I notice a very drunk guy drop his wallet and scatter his bank cards everywhere. He picked them up with the help of his more sober friend, then he staggers 20 feet, lights his last cigarette, and throws the empty packet back in the direction he just came from before collapsing onto the floor. It was then that I'd noticed he forgot to pick up his driving license. I yell across to him that his driving license is on the floor and point to it. He yells back, "That's a cigarette packet. Fuck off back to England, you fucking FT." I was pretty taken aback, both by how much of an asshole he was, and because it definitely was a driving license. So I told him if I'm going to fuck off back to England, I'll need a souvenir, and pocketed the license. 2 minutes later I see his friend running towards me, so I threw the license deep into a hedge. To the friend's credit, he was very apologetic. I pointed vaguely towards the hedge, told him it was somewhere in there, and dipped into a nearby bar. Half an hour later I came out to see them looking in the hedge about 20 feet from where I threw it. I'd be surprised if they found it. I know this has been done many times, but it still feels good to be this petty, by user Botic said Bunnaboiler. A number has been calling my phone for the last several days, not leaving a message. I normally make it a point to not answer unknown calls, but I've also been trying to find a specialist doctor, so thought maybe it was connected. Today the number calls, I answered. It's some guy named Joey who asks if this is XXX, my full name. I say it is. He then goes on to say, I want to talk to you about a house located at XXX, my home address. At this point I realize it's one of those scammy buy your home for less than what is worth type of places. I cut him off and say, lose my number. Of course I don't say this nicely. He calls me a bitch and hangs up on me. I call back and he answers like this previous conversation never happened. I tell him how dare he call me about a scam, then call me a bitch and hang up, and tell him I'm going to report him to the State Real Estate Commission. He again calls me a bitch and hangs up. Not only did I report him, I signed his number up for Scientology, Faith Ministries, Orkin Pest Control, and Finder. Healthcare.gov. In all of the sign-ups I selected prefer a phone call. In the Scientology and Faith Ministries, they wanted a reason for the need. I wrote that I've been working in a scammy industry and I feel I need to get back on the right path and leave this way of life.